Video as well?
Yes, first time. Well, I'd done a little bit of a foray into directing with one of the early songs on the album, but it was just basically two blokes, me and a camera. And this was a proper production, and I love it. I had the idea in my head, and it's amazing seeing it actually real and come to life.
So you
it's
wanted
great.
the paper guitars, that was...
I would just, yes, paper guitars, that's what I ran. I just said, someone make it.
I wonder, I mean, over the last couple of years, we said that you've been studying film music and writing film scores. I wonder whether, you know, directing a video, is that because you're thinking more visually now? Are you thinking pictures, music together?
Yeah, I think I always have. I've always had I think storytelling is a very visual art when you're writing songs. You really, I mean, I'm a huge Bob Dylan fan, and you listen to Bob Dylan's music and you see films in your head as you're listening to these lyrics and stories. So it's really just a bit of a natural graduation for me, and I think more and more with music, I think fans in the very saturated world of music really appreciate more of who you are, and I think if you're directing and you're in charge of what you're doing, then you're getting more of that undiluted artistry in there.
When we introduced you, we spoke about you packing up the stuff, saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm absolutely done. What brought you back?
Driving, which was really unusual, but I don't know about the people at home, but my favourite place to listen to music is in the car.
Yeah.
And that's where I really get to know albums. If I'm at home, I'll listen to it, and halfway through I've got to do something else. But in the car, and not only that, but I was in LA, so I was in Laurel Canyon and Topanga Canyon and Mulholland Drive, Pacific Coast Highway, listening to Fleetwood Mac and Tom Petty and Joni Mitchell and Neil Young. And I always find it amazing listening to the music where it was actually born and where it was written and made. And it was listening to things like Fleetwood Mac, where it was a real lesson for me with the last few years of a lot of self-reflection, of understanding that as a songwriter, really important, maybe the most important part of what you do is to be vulnerable and to excavate the harder things that you experience. And with Fleetwood Mac, you listen to that music and it's this amazing mixture of vulnerability and very muscular pop, and really a lot of strength in their music. And I think for me, for the kind of music I make, that's a really magical mixture.
What did you unearth and excavate in yourself then in this time?
Well, this album is very much a kind of, I called it the Joy Phoenix. The last record was at a really difficult time in my life. My dad had passed, my marriage had broken up, life was upside down, and I sold everything I owned and moved. And
did you run away?
I've thought about that. And I don't think it was. It was looking for something better. And I found something better. I found a life that had a balance of sanctuary as well as just constant working. I'm actually a bit of a lazy person, but music doesn't feel like work. And so I end up working 20-hour days, day after day, and you just burn out. And that's kind of what happened. But yeah, so I think that mixture of Venice Beach is basically like Sunday every day, so you can actually rejuvenate at the same time as working.
Who told you you'd burnt out? How did you realise?
Oh, I just felt it. I just didn't want to tour. I just didn't, which was really strange for me. My whole life since being a teenager has been about wanting to get on stage and share music with people, and so to not have that desire to get out on stage was a massive red flag for me that something wasn't right. And I needed to actually step away from the music and spend some time with myself, not as a musician, just as me.
Without labouring the point, did you, because we talk about mental health issues a lot on Breakfast, and there are calls for mental health issues to be brought out there. Did you feel that you needed help, or did you think...
absolutely. And I asked for it.
Right.
And I think that was something, through that period of time of being very successful and wanting to be a really strong role model for girls, you don't really want to say that you're feeling weak, and it's hard to do it. And actually, it's the way to communicate even more, is to be honest about how you feel.
And I suppose as soon as you open that door, when you're in the public eye, you know that headlines will be written and articles will be written, and you don't want to expose yourself.
No, you don't. It's frightening. But I think at the end of the day, if you want to have an honest relationship with fans and write music from the heart, you've got to say it how it is. And I have to remind myself all the time of that, actually. That just you don't have to be positive and strong all the time. It's not a natural human state.
You look pretty powerful and strong here, though.
Mel C there.
just one of my favourite people in the world. She's an extraordinary woman. And when I was thinking of who to get for a cameo for this video, she was just the first choice. She's been a friend, really good friend of mine for about 10 years, and she just inspires me so much.
Yeah, that looks like it was a blast.
It was really good fun. We had a right laugh.
Did you direct that one as well?
I didn't. No, I let someone else do that. Just enjoyed ourselves.
You just wanted the
It was
the
a really good
bubbles.
laugh. But she's, you know, she's one of the absolute icons of girl power. She is girl power.
What should people expect from the album?
It's a very celebratory, joyful record, but it's also in the Fleetwood Mac spirit. The verses basically tell you what was difficult, and the choruses are to dance to celebrate surviving it. So it's all about coming through hardship in life.
And you're in a good
finding
place
it.
now.
Yeah, very much so.
Let's listen to a bit of this. I just must ask you before you leave us, because we've been talking about this big power cut, the ultimate Black Friday in London last night, and you were there in the West End.
I was walking. I walked from. I couldn't get on the tube because it was absolute mayhem. So I was just.
Were
walking.
they running?
They were running, but I mean, it was queues out onto the street.
And there was just no power, no electricity.
Well, I walked from Oxford Street and turned onto Berwick Street. I was like, what? At first couldn't work out what was going on, and then I realised it was completely pitch black, and people had to turn their phone torches, so you couldn't see a thing, and all the traders were trying to take their stalls down in the pitch black. It was crazy, and the Palace Theatre, all the lights were out, and it was mad.